Kyota, is now a good time?
Oh, hey, Nanae. What's up?
There's something really important I want to talk to you about.
Sounds serious. Did something happen?
Well, yes it did. I think you're going to be super shocked by what I'm about to tell you. So please prepare yourself.
Okay, so what's going on?
I'm out doing my freelance work at a cafe in a shopping center, and your mom was sat in a seat right behind me until just now.
Huh? My mom?
We had our backs to each other. It seems like she didn't realize I was behind her at all.
That's unusual. It's not like my mom to be out drinking tea in a cafe.
So, anyway, she was with some guy I didn't recognize.
Huh?
I overheard them saying all sorts of things. It seemed like the man she was with was her lover.
What? Wait, what? What are you talking about?
You must be shocked. I couldn't believe it myself. I started recording their conversation as soon as I realized what was going on. I want you to listen to it later.
I see. Okay, I will.
I am sorry to have messaged you with this kind of thing, but there's no way I could keep it to myself.
Don't worry about it. It must have been really unpleasant for you to suddenly find yourself listening to something so awful. I'm sorry for my mom's behavior.
Don't be silly. You have nothing to apologize for, Kyota.
Let's carry on talking about this at the house, okay? Probably gonna have to let my dad know what's going on too.
Right, okay.
Nanae, are you there?
Hello?
There's a little thing I want to ask you to do for me.
Oh? What is it?
Well, you see, the week after next, from Thursday until Sunday, would you mind stopping by the house every now and then to check my husband?
Your husband?
That's right. There's a school reunion being held in my hometown on the Saturday, so I plan on staying with my parents for a little while since they're close by. But, as you know, my parents live a very long way away.
Of course. It takes about 5 hours from here, including changeovers from both the bullet and the regular trains, right?
That's right. That's why it makes more sense to stay over at my parents' place. I'd like to have plenty of time to relax while I'm there.
I see. So you plan on leaving the Thursday after next, is that right?
Don't get me wrong, my husband is quite capable of looking after the house by himself, but I'm probably just worrying too much. But I would be grateful if you could show your face at the house every now and then, just to check on how he's doing. Oh, and he'll be working as usual on Thursdays and Fridays, so you'll only need to check him on the evenings on those days.
Got it. I do freelance work from home, so I'm fairly flexible when it comes to my schedule. Sure, leave it to me. I want your mind to be at ease.
Thank you, Nanae. You're such a sweetie.
That's okay. Kyota, your mom just messaged me. It's just like I thought. She's planning on going away. From Thursday till Sunday, the week after next, apparently. She asked me to check in on your dad every now and then while she's gone.
Even while she's away doing that, she still worries about my dad. Either that, or it's some kind of trick to try to camouflage what she's doing.
I don't know anything about that. But I do know that the school reunion she's supposedly going to doesn't exist. I know this must be difficult for you, Kyota. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm pleased you told me.
What about your dad? You met him at a local restaurant and told him everything, right?
Yeah. We're together now, actually. I played him the recording, too.
Your poor dad. How did he take it?
Well, you see, turns out he actually suspected my mom was up to something for a while now.
He did?
He said he had an inkling something fishy was going on, but was depressed and anxious because he had no evidence. He seemed weirdly relieved when I told him, as if he was finally able to process his feelings. I mean, I guess I kinda understand what he means.
I see. Well, if your dad's mind made up, that just leaves one thing.
Yeah, you're right. Let's settle this.
Yeah. Hey, how are the preparations for your school reunion going? Are you having a good time?
Oh, hello, Nanae. Yes, I'm having a blast. I am back in the family home after all. The house might be in my brother's name now, but that's not to say my dad isn't still alive and kicking. There's something so soothing about being back at the house I grew up in.
Really? I'm so pleased to hear that.
Did you want something?
Oh, please forgive me. I messaged you because there's a little something I wanted you to confirm with me.
What is it?
Am I right in thinking the school reunion's being held tomorrow? Saturday, right?
That's right. All of my old friends from high school will be getting together to catch up over some drinks. By the way, this is just between us ladies, okay? But apparently my first boyfriend, the first boy I ever fell in love with, is coming too. To tell you the truth, I feel a bit giddy. But don't tell Kyoto or my husband about that, will you?
Oh, you're such a minx. Look at you all loved up like a teenage girl.
I thought with you being a girl too, you'd understand what it feels like to get giddy over a boy.
That's nice. To be honest, I think I'd rather not understand the feelings of someone who cheats on their husband.
What?
Let's just be straight with each other, shall we? This school reunion of yours never existed, did it?
Of course it does! Just like I told you, it's being held in my hometown.
It's just there are a few things that seem more than a little strange to me. For example, when Kyoya asked your husband, he said he had no recollection of you mentioning anything like that.
Huh?
I did think there was a chance you might just forgot to tell him, though. So, you know how the 3 houses around your parents' place belong to your old classmates from high school? When we asked them about the reunion, none of them had heard anything about it. We even tracked out some of your other classmates and asked them too, but surprise, surprise, no word of any kind of reunion. How do you explain all of this?
Well,
Where are you right now?
I already told you. I'm at my parents' house.
That's strange, because I'm at your parents' house right now.
What?
No one here knows anything about you coming home. Admit it, you're not here, are you?
Oh, that's right. No, I'm not there yet. Oh dear, I forgot to tell them. I forgot in my head if it wasn't screwed on.
Really?
I, decided on a whim to stop by at a nearby tourist spot on the way. I never planned on coming here originally, so I admit this has all been rather careless of me. It appears I surprised you all, but I'm sorry to have troubled you. But would you please stop with these strange accusations that I'm having an affair? People might get the wrong idea. I'd feel guilty if I showed up on the doorstep announced and I was staying out of the blue, even if they are my family. That's why I decided to book a hotel, so I'll be staying there for tonight. I'm so sorry for the hassle, but please, could you pass the message on to my family?
There are some things that just don't add up, though.
What do you mean?
Why don't you seem concerned about the fact that I'm suddenly at your parents' house? Aren't you curious as to why?
Well,
On top of that, you still haven't given me an adequate explanation as to why there's no evidence of this school reunion actually existing.
Well, that's,
Kyota wants to speak to you now.
Huh? Kyota? Oh no, you're with Kyota right now?
Yes, we're together.
What is this? Am I being interrogated?
You'll be getting a message from him now.
Mom.
Kyota, Nanane was saying all sorts of strange things about me just now. It's not true. Just ignore her.
His name's Takano, right? The guy you're cheating on Dad with?
What?
I won't go into detail, but sure enough, we know everything. It was pretty easy to find out the rest once we knew his name. Takano's the guy you mentioned in your message to Nanae, your first boyfriend from back in high school, right? You two reignited your old relationship when you were reunited at a school reunion 5 years ago. When you caught wind of him having just divorced his wife, you invited him for a drink and ended up spending the night together in a hotel. After that, when he started getting serious about you, he decided to move to our town where you lived with Dad. Captivated by his intensity, you got serious about him too, and you resolved to use Dad's impending retirement as your opportunity to file for a divorce. You planned on coming up with some nonsensical reasons to justify the divorce so that you couldn't be held legally responsible, and were getting ready to take half of Dad's stuff, including his pension and alimony. Then marry Takano so the two of you could live happily ever after. Does that sound more or less accurate? Feel free to correct me if I got anything wrong, but let me make one thing clear. That is not mere guesswork or speculation.
How on earth?
Listen up, Mom. Remember that time you met Takano for a coffee at that cafe inside the shopping center a little while back? While you were sat and merrily chatting away, a certain acquaintance of yours was sat with their back to you in the seat directly behind you.
What?
That person heard everything, from the two of you reminiscing with delight over being reunited, all the way up until the situation between the two of you today, including your little scheme to try and steal Dad's retirement money, among other things. They recorded everything from start to finish and handed it over to me as proof. We did some further research based on the recording, and that's how we know what we know now.
What? Someone recorded us? Who was it?
That's not important. By the way, as for Dad's retirement next week, that pension money you've got in your crosshairs will be getting paid into a different bank account to the one his salary goes to every month, which means you won't be able to get your greedy hands on it. I guess you could call it Dad trusting his gut. It's not necessarily that he had any evidence you were doing what you were doing. Somehow or other, he felt like having his retirement fund paid into a separate bank account would be the right thing to do, and it looks like he was right.
No way!
There's one more important thing I've got to tell you. The proceedings for your divorce with Dad are already well underway.
What?
You already had some divorce papers with your signature on it stashed away in the drawer in your dresser, didn't you?
How did you know about?
We found them while we were getting your belongings together.
What? My belongings?
Here's a message from Dad. What the hell are you playing at? Think you'd do something like this at your age? I don't need a wife who cheats on me. Looks like you already had the divorce papers ready, so I did you a favor and took them down to the registration office. However, I fully intend on extracting as much compensation as I can out of you and Takano. Goodbye.
Please, wait.
We got all your belongings together and had them dropped off of your parents' house.
What?
We went out of our way to rent a moving van and have them taken there for you.
Why would you do such a thing?
Isn't it obvious? You're divorced now, which means you have nowhere else to go but your parents' place, right? The house belongs to Dad after all.
You have no right to go doing that without my permission.
Rights? Permission? You lost any claim to those things when you decided to cheat on Dad. Besides, weren't you the one planning to file for divorce? All Dad did was put his signature next to yours on the papers you already had. What's the problem? Shouldn't you be pleased?
No, you've got this all wrong. It's not like that.
Anyway, Dad asked me to tell you to only contact him through his lawyer from now on.
His lawyer?
As for me and Nanae, we don't really feel like speaking to you ever again.
Wait, Kyota!
It turned out my mother-in-law was in the middle of a lover's holiday at a famous tourist spot near her parents' place. 2 hours after the last message, she turned up at her old house where Kyota's dad was and frantically rang the doorbell. Apparently my stepdad completely ignored her, at which point she went to mine and Kyota's house. However, since me and him stayed the night at a hotel on the way back from his parents' house, we didn't end up seeing her. And then my mother-in-law was forced to pay compensation to my dad, but her lover, who had used his entire pension to cover it, was furious with her, and their relationship fell apart. "This is all your fault," he said. She didn't like the idea of having to go back to live with her parents either. Now she's living in a cheap rundown apartment a little way away from her hometown, working like a dog to pay the compensation she owes to my stepdad. Up until this whole affair, she'd been a stay-at-home wife this whole time. As such, she probably would have never imagined she'd end up spending what should have been her retirement years working to exhaustion.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.
Hi, Sarah. Have you decided to quit your job yet? It's been 3 months since you married my son, Andrew. You need to focus on having children. The best way to do that is to quit your job and become a housewife. You know the reason you're having trouble having children? It's because you're always so tired after coming home from work.
Miss Jameson? I'm currently at work, so can we please talk about this later if it isn't urgent?
Oh, is that so?
I leave my smartphone on my desk due to work reasons. I get all sorts of messages related to work, so it's kind of distracting getting all sorts of messages from you.
Why not just quit the job?
You say that like it's so easy. I explained this before the wedding, but I can't just quit my job since I'm in an important position.
You're just complicating things, aren't you? There are probably tons of replacements for someone like you.
Actually, that's not really...
If you don't quit, you'll have to divorce, you know?
What?
It's your duty to give your husband's parents grandchildren.
You've got it wrong. You see, I eventually want to have kids too, but I can't just quit my job. Andrew understands this.
There's no way he does.
I thought he talked to you about this.
He's just being nice to you. That's not what he actually thinks. There's no way a child of mine would just forgive you being so selfish.
Selfish? But I just...
What you're doing is selfish no matter how you look at it. The husband's wife needs to prioritize what the mother-in-law says above all else. It's not an exaggeration if I say that you're my slave.
Your slave?
If you understand, then quit your job immediately.
Hi, Andrew. Do you have a minute?
Hey, Sarah. I just checked in the hotel and was just gonna take a bath. What's wrong?
Your mother told me again to quit my job.
What, again?
She even told me that I was her slave.
That's going too far. I thought I already explained the situation to her. Every time I talk to this about her, she gets hysterical.
I see. According to her, you also actually want me to quit my job, but are just being kind to me.
What? No. I only told her what I actually felt. The company's gonna be in huge trouble if you just quit.
Yup. It really can't be helped. I explained this when I met your parents before getting married, but she must have forgotten.
Well, my mom is the kind of person who won't listen to anything a person she thinks is beneath her says. Also, both my grandmother and great-grandmother were the type to quit their jobs once they got married. So maybe she saw this and assumed this was how things were supposed to be.
That reminds me. I heard from your dad that your mom quit her job as soon as she got married.
Yup, I've heard the same story before. Apparently, Mom really wanted to get married and half-forced Dad into it. Dad at the time was just 2 years into his job, so he actually wanted Mom not to quit her job. But Mom had apparently quit by the time he found out.
So he did struggle financially, huh?
Yup. Working after hours wasn't as looked down upon as it is today, so that's how he earned the money he needed until he got promoted and obtained a stable position at the company.
I see.
We've been talking for quite a while now. You see, Dad's asked me for advice or something concerning Mom.
Your dad?
Yes, I'll explain it to you when I get home. I'll be there tomorrow, so let's talk about what we should do about her from now on as well.
Alright. Sorry for bothering you while you're busy.
It's fine. It was an important matter. You can talk to me whenever.
Okay, thanks.
Well, good night.
Good night. Miss Jameson! What are you thinking, sending a letter of resignation in my name to the company I work at?
Oh, hi Sarah. It's because you didn't seem to have the courage to quit by yourself, so I thought I would give you a push on the back.
What do you mean I didn't have the courage? I have no intention of quitting the job I have now.
But I already submitted the letter of resignation. You won't be able to stay at the company now, right? I should have done this all at the start. I wonder why I didn't think of it until now. Now I'm one step closer to being able to see my grandchildren, which means that you surrender and can't be mad anymore.
Well, no. I have no intention on quitting no matter what you do.
What?
If that's your attitude, then I understand. It's time for me to take action as well.
What? Action?
Goodbye!
Sarah, did you quit your job? Today's a weekday and yet you seem to be home. Or is it that you plan on using up your paid holidays before quitting? Sending that letter of resignation worked great. Well, I guess I better teach you how to be a housewife now.
Today's just a day off. Besides, there's no way something like that was going to be taken seriously.
What do you mean?
It was clear that that letter wasn't sent by me.
You're saying they didn't accept it?
Yup, it was sent to the shredder.
What? Do you know how much effort I put into that? That was the best one I made out of many.
It doesn't matter how much you made. They'll all go to the shredder.
Why you? Is that how you talk to your superiors?
If you want to make it like that, then I'm not sure you have the right to be so condescending while you depend on your husband to get by.
What?
It seems that Mr. Anderson has been complaining about you to my husband lately. Apparently, you're not happy with your husband's salary?
I'm the one who manages the house. Just because I'm a housewife doesn't mean I have no right to complain.
Well, I guess being a housewife has its own unique difficulties. But even if you put that into consideration, telling your husband to work overtime so that he'll earn more money, even when the company doesn't allow it anymore, is pretty unfair. In my opinion, you should just get a part-time job.
What are you saying? It's the wife's job to stay at home and protect the house, and it's the husband's job to go out and earn money.
I don't completely disagree with that idea, but there are also times when things need to be done differently. However, I do find it hard to understand why you'd be unhappy with your family's income, since your son has a job and has been supporting himself for years. And your husband, even though he doesn't work overtime anymore, is still a manager at a major company.
Quit yapping! It isn't right for the wife to argue with her mother-in-law. Our family doesn't need a good-for-nothing like you. Divorce my son as soon as possible.
Yup, I turned in my divorce papers yesterday. Along with yours too.
What? My divorce papers? What are you talking about?
Weren't you the one who suggested divorce to Mr. Jameson? You said that if he didn't start working overtime again, you'd divorce him. You even gave him a form filled out with your sign on it, right?
Huh?
Mr. Anderson couldn't do anything about it since his company doesn't allow overtime anymore. So he signed the papers as well and came with me and Andrew, who also submitted our divorce papers.
What are you talking about? That's not what I meant.
I have no idea what you were planning on doing, but it's clear that you're the one who brought up divorce to Mr. Jameson.
That's not... I only meant to...
Well, there's really no point in me getting involved. Mr. Jameson is going to hire a lawyer, so talk to him instead.
A lawyer?
Apparently, he's going to sue you for cheating on him with a male stripper.
What?
Is that why you wanted your husband to work overtime so much?
No, that's not it.
I'll give the phone to Andrew now.
Andrew?
Hi, Mom.
Andrew, you're not just going to leave me, right? It seems that you divorced Sarah, so you'll be able to support me now that your father's divorced me, right? Let's get along from now on, okay?
It's true that me and Sarah got divorced, but we got remarried right after.
What?
I just wanted to change my last name.
What? What are you talking about? There's no way my child of mine would stick with such a useless bride. She's the kind of woman to send the letter of resignation I kindly sent for her to the shredder.
About that, it's unacceptable for someone to send a letter of resignation in the name of someone else in the first place. But what are you thinking, sending the CEO's letter of resignation to the CEO?
What? The CEO's letter of resignation to the CEO?
I told you this already, but it seems either you weren't listening or you forgot already.
What do you mean?
You see, Sarah owns a company.
What?
She's the daughter of the former CEO of the company, and she inherited it a year before we got married. By the way, I work at a company, and Dad works at a client company.
So the reason why she wouldn't quit her job no matter how many times I told her was...
Her quitting the job would be the same as disintegrating the family. That would also mean that hundreds of people, including myself, would lose their jobs. It would impact the company Dad works at as well. Even then, you'd tell her to quit?
But she's the CEO?
Also, Sarah's pregnant now.
Really?
But we're not gonna let you meet the child.
What? Andrew?
I don't want to consider someone who insults my wife and cheats on Dad as my mother, which is why I'm cutting ties with you.
Wait!
Goodbye!
A few days later, Miss Jameson found a cheap apartment she could move into immediately and left the house. Apparently, the money she used on male strippers was taken from her and Mr. Jameson's savings account. All she got from the divorce was the money needed for a new apartment and 2 months' worth of money to live on. Not taking any alimony was probably Mr. Jameson's final form of pity to his ex-wife, who was a housewife for 30 years. But still, it's hard to begin supporting yourself after you haven't had a job for 30 years. It seems that she's having trouble at the part-time job she was finally able to find. I saw her apologizing with tears in her eyes to a high schooler a few days back. Apparently, this male stripper she was cheating on Mr. Anderson with left her, now that she has no money. Sadly, she'll probably die alone.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.